said that. It doesn't matter what it is.
Everybody in back, take
One step
one
forward.
step forward.
Look at that choreographer.
One more
I
step.
know.
Oh, look at you.
You all have our backs.
Thank you so much.
What a motley crew.
Look at you, my friends. Thank you. Thank you so much. No, actually, you can throw it in the river until after the election.
Okay. You want to do the thing?
Do the thing.
We live?
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, thank you for coming this morning. I am super excited to be with a group of supporters and also Commissioners Barbara Weston and Robert Lomanak from Richland One School Board. They have been true champions for progress in Richland One. And like them, we've been working for the past 2 years together really hard to make sure that every kid, regardless of where they live in Richland One, has an excellent education. We've been doing that for the past 2 years. I look forward to continuing working with them once I'm reelected. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Commissioner Barbara Weston.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'd like to say that 2 years ago when we started working together, didn't know Heather at the time, but got a chance to meet her. The fact that she came out for her constituents, the parents, the students, the community, and she didn't just come out once and leave it alone to make a show, but she came out, she wrote legislation so that we could follow through with it. She did what she needed to do for the children, and that's more than we can say for others. But we appreciate her. We ask her to keep fighting for the children in our community. We need her more now than ever. So Heather, thank you for what you do and what you're going to do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Robert?
It's always tough following Commissioner Weston. The English language arts teachers in middle school always tell their students to show, don't tell when they're writing. And I think that Representative Bauer has done the work, not just talked about doing the work. And she has identified problems, she's come up with solutions, and she's worked with Democrats and Republicans to make things happen. And she's created some needed oversight and some reform that have already benefited the students and the teachers and staff who educate them every day. And I think, it's really easy to be cynical about politicians these days. And I think that's the lazy way out, because you got to pay attention to folks like Representative Bauer, because she's giving a lot of hope. She's a refreshing fixer and hard worker, and I am proud to have worked with her. I'm proud to know her, and I think one thing that Representative Bauer is demonstrating is there is a lot of power in transparency, honesty, hard work, and willingness to work with everybody at the State House to get things done, and she will get a lot more done in the next 2 years, so I can't wait to see it happen.
I like to just finish by saying, my opponent had a press conference on Monday, and what I'll just chalk it up to as a political stunt. We haven't heard from him in the 10 years he was in office. 10 years is a long time, so long they have a name for it, it's a decade. He had a decade to show up and speak up for the kids of Richland One, and he did not do that. So I've been honored to do that my past 2 years. I don't take it for granted, and I'll continue to work hard over the next 2.
Questions?
You want me to go? Okay.
Sure.
I started covering the district around the same time that Commerce had been spearheaded, on audience of the district. I'm here because, what Kirkland Finley said the other day felt like he, hadn't really been paying attention to what was going on in the district. And so he was sort of up to that point a little bit.
Either of you want to talk?
Sure. I mean,
Been serving? Yep.
I found it awkward to call for a meeting and demand that the school board meet when there was already an agenda set. We already had a meeting scheduled. We go over these report cards every single year in October. You can go watch them on YouTube if you have been too lazy to come to them or watch them in real time. You can watch all 10 years of them, and it's been the same thing year after year. And so I was a little disappointed and surprised at what seemed like an empty demand that wasn't backed up by knowledge of the actual issues in Richland One.
Yeah, it's all you.
I also, I think something he said in his a release that he sent out on Monday was, you know, that you would called for an investigation into the district and that it wasn't successful. But, you know, public records show that it really was your letter to the superintendent that led to the IG report. So can you sort of
Correct.
speak to that a little bit?
I'd like to just say that when Heather Bauer spoke up, people listened. We've invited a lot of our political leaders to come to share the load, to get the information, not just from one side, but from all sides. And we are always pleased when they ask and when they show up. And once the community got Heather Bauer involved, they didn't have to continue to ask because she continued to show up. She continued to work for them. And when now it's helping all the children, not in just her district, but all the children in Richland County, especially with the proviso that was passed that now you don't have to just stop at the cafeteria to see if there are rodents all over the building. You can go into the classrooms, you can go into the buildings. That's very important because people have been complaining about that for years. They've written it up, they've done everything else. But when Heather Bauer spoke, people listened, action was taken. She is a wonderful Democratic representative, but she is overall just a wonderful representative. We appreciate you, Heather, and want you to keep it up.
How important is it just to put the children first with everything in Richland County, like you were saying? Just what would be, I guess, just like the main goal with that, putting the children first?
I will take that because as everyone says, children are our future. That's not a lie, and there's a pipeline, and we have to make sure that our children are headed in the right direction. We can't wait 12 years, 15 years, start working with children at that time. We need to work with the children that we already have in the pipeline because we can't afford to lose them. They are important now. They are important when it comes not just to report cards, but reporting to college or reporting to work. We have to make sure that they are well prepared. The only way we're going to do that is to retain teachers, to make sure that the conditions that they're in are ones that they can say, we can make it, we can do this. And the fact that we know that they are interested in children and that's why they stay, we need to make it so much so that they want to continue to stay and, more importantly, invite others to come.
And you mentioned the condition part too. I guess what would be like, what's the current administration basically doing wrong that's causing, like you mentioned, the rats, the insects, all that type of stuff. Like, why is it happening? You know what I mean? Like, what's the?
I know that the blame has been placed sometimes on teachers about eating conditions and whatever. Teachers sometimes grab something to eat because they don't have time to go anyplace else and get it. To say that that's the problem, when we look at the holes where the rats can get in, when we look at the trash not being picked up so that they won't accumulate, we looked at falling ceilings. We have to take a whole look around, and that's what the proviso actually does, allow them to go in. Now it's the Department of Agriculture to go in and look around, because if you see one, you will see many more. And so we have to fix the problem, and I think bringing it to the attention has been going on for years, but having now a law to go with that puts meat to everything else. So it makes it important for us to address it, and now we can't not address it.
My final question is just about teacher retention, and just what would be the draw that's going to make new teachers coming out of school want to come to this and stay?
I think it's transparency as well as recruitment, because if you tell me I'm going to make $10 and then I look and I see that it's changed to $5, I'm a little bit upset. I'm not doing it for the money. but you're not telling me up front when I sign my contract what I'm signing up for, how much I'm going to make. If I went to a job interview, I would get that information. But as a teacher, we're not treated as professionals, and so we don't get that same treatment. But if I'm coming into a place where I know that you're addressing the issues that you have and you want me to be there, then I will come. But other teachers who are already in the district, they're our best recruiters. If they're not happy, if they're not respected, they won't invite others to come in to a place where they don't feel comfortable either.
And if I could add to everything Commissioner Weston just said and ditto it, first of all, but one of the things that the report cards demonstrated is we've got a lot of work to do. But if you look at the teacher retention data at the 4 schools that are rated as excellent, 100%, 96%, 83%, and then there was one outlier that was around 70%. If you look at the 4 schools' teacher retention data of the schools who were rated unsatisfactory, 55%, 58%, I think a low 60-something percent. Teacher retention is literally everything. And we can do some quick things to make sure teachers know they're welcome. We waited until the state legislature forced us to provide paid family leave. We shouldn't have done that. We should have done that on our own because we care about teachers. We can tell teachers in this district and elsewhere that if you resign because you're unhappy with the school leadership or with our district, we will not take your teaching certificate for a year. We will treat you like the professionals you are. It's how we talk to and about the teachers that really matters. It's not just the money. It's about other things as well. And I think we can do a lot more to make sure they know they're welcome, and they'll remain that way if they stick with us. So we can really create some, I think, immediate change if we increase our retention.
I'm just kind of curious, other members of the Richland County delegation aren't as vocal as you, Representative Bauer. How might another term, and like, that continuity, like, sort of help,
So to answer your question, why my other colleagues are not vocal, I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't want to be involved in children's education. We are the capital city. I think we should have the best public education in the whole state, and we don't meet that expectation. So why they're not involved, I can't answer that question. But I think what I've shown my first 2 years, I've been able to execute in some pretty tough situations at the State House being a freshman, but I've executed. I've gotten bills passed, I've got provisos passed, I've shown up, and I think what we've seen is if you just show up and work hard, you can get stuff done, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Anything else? Thanks, guys.
Thank you
y'all.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. You're so great. You're so great. Y'all are the champions.